every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath you could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Amen. All right, I'm going to have you guys remain standing. Our next song is a new song. They're called The Father's House. You may have heard it if you're listening to contemporary Christian radio. We're not going to do our normal greeting times there with the handshakes and hugs, but if you feel compelled, you can wave, you can touch elbows, you can do some of the alternative things during this time. Air hugs, that's right. If you did come prepared to give tithes and offerings, we usually have our box there by the coffee bar, but it's out front. You could do that just upon leaving today if you wanted to do that. Sometimes on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. And my story isn't over My story's just begun. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Yeah, failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Lay your burdens down here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. You're in the Father's house. Arrival's not the end game. The journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. And failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Yeah, failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. The prodigals come home, the helpless find hope. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Prison doors fling wide, the dead comes to life. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, the cynical find faith, and love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. The Jericho walls are breaking, strongholds now are shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Amen.
Well, y'all may be seated for a minute. Amen. Martha and I are going to kind of help lead in a couple songs. We're going to let you stay seated for one, okay? And then we can't let you stay seated for the next one. So that's just the way it goes. Amen. All right, so stay seated for this one. Here we go. This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America uphold. For this is my country, to have and to hold. This is my country, land of my choice. This is my country, hear my proud voice. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold. For this is my country, to have and to hold. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold. For this is my country, to have and to hold. Have and to hold. Amen. All right, join me in standing as we salute our armed forces, especially those that went on before us and did give us the liberty that we enjoy. Amen. Roll it. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. For wherever you go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day, 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 day. To our last night on shore, hail to the foe. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through howling gale and shot and shell, to win our victory. Semper Paratus is our guide, our pledge, our motto too. We're always ready to or die. High Coast Guard, we fight for you. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, swimming to meet our thunder, and boys give the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame from under, up with one terrible roar. We live in fame, or go down in flame, for nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. From the shores of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First we fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, the United States Marines. You may be seated.
All right, we're going to have a good day today, and I've asked a dear friend, and some of you already know Brother James and Miss Donna Islam and Devin from school, but I've asked him to speak to us today on Memorial Day, and he's got some really moving stuff from the heart and from the Lord for you today. So give him a hand as Brother James Islam comes.
Sight, this is finally, seems like it has been forever. And we have been praying to be reunited for, seems like, months on end. But I just want you to know that I am so honored and thankful to be able to stand here before you today as we celebrate, but not. This isn't a joyful celebration. This is a somber celebration, but it is a celebration. It's a memorial for those who have given their lives. And so I want to just thank you for bringing me here, and I ask the Lord to give me something to give each one of you here today. So, at the very least, make sure you have a pen ready, something to write on, even if it's just in the white space of your bulletin. I ask the Lord to give me something. Nobody's going to leave here empty-handed, so be on the lookout. It could be one thing that I say. Have you ever felt like you had a greater purpose in life? Like a calling on your life? Have you ever just wanted God to speak to you clearly? Anyone? You can raise your hand. That's what I want to talk about, is God's calling on our lives. When I was about 15 years old, one day, it was early in the evening, but I was in my bed. It was dark outside. I was looking out at the stars. And I don't remember a lot about that time period, but I think I was in trouble because it was earlier than I normally be in bed. And I was probably on restrictions. And I just remember looking out my window at the black sky filled with stars. And very clearly I remember saying, God, if you're out there, you got to show me. Make one of those stars shoot across the sky. And I saw my first shooting star. It was very clear. But even though I asked God to show me a shooting star, I said, now wait a minute, that was too quick, do it again. I didn't see another one. But that stuck with me. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences. God was speaking to my heart. Well, it's not like at that moment I immediately committed my life to serving the God that makes stars shoot across the sky, or come into being for that matter, by his own will and power and for his own pleasure. God isn't limited in how he speaks to us. You know, he used that shooting star to speak to me. I shrugged it off a little bit. But throughout history, he's spoken through clouds, burning bushes, dreams, visions, donkeys, angels, his holy word that we are privileged to have in writing. God, what I've learned is he often uses my own words to speak to me. Let me tell you how that works. If you've raised children, you have the pleasure of knowing that you have to correct them. You have to teach them. Well, almost every time that I teach my children a very important lesson, I feel like God is using my own words to apply those biblical principles that I share with them to me. On more than one occasion, I almost felt like I had to stop correcting them and scolding them so I could go get alone with God and pay attention to what he was trying to teach me through my own words. Well, sometimes God will give you a guest speaker. And that's what I hope. God will make something of what I say resonate with you, that he will speak to your heart. So let me tell you a little bit about our story. We've been blessed with 7 children. Our third child was Joshua, and I could tell you a million things about him, but let me pick it up in 2012. He's in high school, and he was a very accomplished athlete. He was a baseball player, and he was on the state championship of North Carolina baseball team. But the problem is he was a left-handed pitcher and center fielder. And the guy that he played behind was all-state from freshman year. He was the guy the pro scouts came and pointed their radar guns at as a high school student. They were after him. And after 2012, Josh said, "Dad, I'm thinking about quitting." And honestly, I don't know if I could have let that happen. Because from the very earliest ages, I had been his pitching coach, his batting practice pitcher, and I wanted to see him play. But he said, "I'm not going to see the field. I'm behind Alex, and we've got all these other guys, and I don't know. I just want to get ready for the Marine Corps." He had already been training as a poolee, and so I said, "Listen, and this is the first lesson that I want to share with you today." I said, "Josh, if it's in your heart to play baseball or do anything in life for that matter, you stick it out whether you see the field or not, whether it seems like it's working or not. If it's in your heart, do it with all you got, because you never know. But by the same token, if it's not in your heart, then you shouldn't be doing it anyway." And just like I said a few minutes ago, I had to go get alone with God, because he was using that lesson that I was teaching my son, which was an important lesson for him, but he was and still is speaking to me that same lesson. If it's in your heart, give it all you got, regardless of if it seems like it's working. Well, what happened, and I told him, things happen in high school. Some kids make a bad decision. Some kids get hurt. Parents get a transfer, they move. All kind of things happen. They don't pay attention to their school. They're not eligible. Well, I did feel a little bit like a dad genius, because unexplainably, that star pitcher, he got a bone spur in his elbow. And he had surgery. Now he could still play center field, but he couldn't pitch. He tried and he couldn't. So, then another one of the star pitchers from the previous year, he had a shoulder injury. Had to have a procedure, go through rehab, and he was on course to make it back at some point during the season. They just didn't know exactly when or if. So the team basically had one good starter, and we slaughtered teams when he pitched, And they were going from one arm to the other throughout the early part of the season, and we were getting slaughtered. We didn't have enough arms in the bullpen. So finally, one day, Coach was kind of exasperated. We were the defending state champions. So he just said, hey, does anyone want to get out there and give it a shot? And nobody said anything. Josh said, I'll go. Well, he had been wanting to go, trying to go his whole career, high school career. Now as a senior, finally his moment came. He went out that first game and pitched a complete game shutout. And Coach said, Josh, where's that been? Been right here all along, Coach. He went on to help the team make it to the playoffs and win the state championship as the first back-to-back state champions in his school's history. It was very thrilling, but even more thrilling than the championships were those lessons. I could tell you hours worth of stories just from that season. So here's the next lesson. God cares more about our heart than our outward appearance, more than our social status. You think God's impressed with how much money we have or what we look like or what our talents are? He gave them to us. What he's impressed with is when we submit that heart and we surrender all of those resources and talents and skills and abilities to him. Regardless of our age, you know, I think it's so amazing. He gave us the example of the loaves and fishes to say, look, just bring me the little stuff that you got. You surrender it to me and let me make something awesome out of it. Something amazing. Something that defies human logic. That's the God that we serve. So Josh, as a high school senior, he enlisted early. He was still 17, so we had to go down to the recruiter's office and co-sign the papers. He didn't want to wait until after graduation. And we got to the recruiter's office. There was an awesome, huge street bike motorcycle on that front sidewalk. And we said, oh, I know what he's hooked on. He wants to be one of those big bad Marines with that motorcycle. But he enlisted early, and as parents, we're going through the mixture of emotions, getting ready for graduation, going through the baseball season, making sure he completed all of his academic requirements, all that kind of stuff. But meanwhile, Mom is praying, God, give me a verse to give him. And so Josh had a Bible, didn't have, my Bible's covered in markings, highlights, underlines, notes, all kind of things. His was perfectly clean. But one day, she was certain that God gave her a verse. It was Joshua 1:9. She took his Bible, snuck it out of his room. She highlighted that one verse and wrote the date, April 28th. Snuck it back in there, closed it up, didn't say a word. So Josh, he graduates in July, goes off to boot camp, and in August, and for us it's significant, the letter that he wrote home from boot camp on our 25th wedding anniversary was, he told us about boot camp, and then he said, so cool story. I've become good friends with a guy in the rack next to mine, and his name is Brian. So Brian got a letter from his mom, and they went to chapel to get their mail. And Brian's mom, who we didn't know Brian or his mom, she sent Brian a letter and said, Brian, look up Joshua 1:9. Well, Brian only had a New Testament. So he says, hey, Josh, look this up for me. So Josh opens his Bible and sees that 4 months earlier, his mom had highlighted that one verse. Coincidence? There's no way. It does get better. It is like God himself told Carmen, Brian's mom, to send a letter to her son at boot camp to tell Brian, to tell Josh to open his Bible up and read what his mom gave him 4 months ago. He said, I thought that was kind of interesting. Well, we thought it was quite amazing, more than interesting. And so Donna saw an ad for make your own custom dog tags. And she had already been wanting to get Josh a graduation present from boot camp. So she filled out the little form, and it said, get 2 and you get a discount. Well, that's probably the only way she would have gotten 2 is if she got a discount. But that's not a coincidence either. She decided to get 2 identical dog tags with Joshua 1:9 on them and give one to Brian and one to Josh to always remember that cool story, that interesting coincidence that wasn't a coincidence at all. So graduation came, and it was fantastic. What a celebration. We're so proud to have raised a son that at such an early age, 18 years old, was willing to submit himself to training and vowed to give his life, if it ever became necessary, for the defense of freedom for us, but freedom around the world. And we're very proud to have raised a son that he didn't do that with some sort of dreamy idea. He did that very soberly. I was amazed. So Brian and Josh went their separate ways. They had different MOSs. Josh, he went to school of infantry. He was decorated and commended for his performance there. He was recruited to train with Special Forces at Recon at Camp Pendleton. He was so excited. That had long been his dream. And we talked to him the day before his first day of training. And his birthday was coming up in a week. We talked to him about what we might send him for a birthday present and what how he's liking it out there, different things. And we were already kind of planning on going out there for his graduation and stuff. Well, the next day, his first day of training, he trained extremely hard all day. They went at it. I'll skip the details, but we expected to get a call from him after his first day, and just to tell us how it went. We didn't get a call. I didn't think that much of it. I said, they probably got a tradition of, messing with the new guys first day or whatever. But Donna said, I don't feel right. Well, a couple days later, we got a knock at the door. And we heard, we regret to inform you. I don't know what they said after that. I know some things got broken. I know our hearts were broken. Shortly before Josh went off to Recon, we went golfing. And I said, son, have you been reading your Bible? He goes, maybe not as much as I should. Here's the next lesson. I said, son, you need to stay in that word and stay close to Jesus. There's coming a day when you're going to need to be able to call out to him. There's coming a day when you're going to need to be able to call out to Jesus. That day is coming for each one of us. As we were getting ready for Josh's funeral, we were looking through photo albums and digging through all the stuff you hadn't looked at in years. You know, we have a special box of kindergarten drawings and little notes that the kids give us throughout the years. Well, I opened up his baby book, and we hadn't looked at the baby book in years. Well, on the front page, Donna had been given birth, so I wrote in the baby book. It said, "What's the baby's name?" And I wrote Joshua. It said, "Is there, a story behind the name?" And I wrote in there, "Joshua, you have been named after Joshua in the Bible," and I wrote a few other things. So I told him that I wanted him and had a vision for him becoming that sort of man of God that was willing to step up when he was called on and to do the bold thing that God was calling him to do. Then it asked if there was a special verse. And this is what I wrote that I had totally forgotten about. Donna was oblivious to. I said, "Josh, this is the special verse I want to give you the day you're born. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful." That's Joshua 1:7 and 8. Coincidence? The day he's born, I give him Joshua 1:7 and 8. Before he goes to the Marines, Donna gives him Joshua 1:9. They've got these dog tags. Brian's mom sending Brian a letter. Well, when Brian heard that Josh had died, he called us and said, "I'm never going to take my dog tag off." And we're sort of spiritual leaders in our family and in our community. People look to us, and I'm proud that they call us when they're troubled and ask us to pray. I'm proud to be known as someone close to God that people can come to and that I can pray with them and for them. And we felt like in this moment, it was our time. We had to step up and be ready to live out the faith that we had professed so much. So we made up our minds to start sharing these dog tags. We shared 500 of them at Josh's funeral. We had another funeral in North Carolina. We shared 500 more. And we knew this is it. So today, I brought dog tags. If I didn't give you any good nuggets of wisdom, at least you can come up and get a dog tag. But let me tell you something about this. These dog tags, I've very long been interested in evangelism and reaching the lost. These dog tags have opened people's hearts and minds like nothing I've ever seen before. We share them with believers to encourage them, to build them up, and to strengthen them in what we believe. But something else has happened. As I share, as Donna shares, as other people share these, we get built up, strengthened, and encouraged too. as we see God take a small gift with his word, with a powerful story, and we share the reason for the hope that we have. People say, a lot of times people will be crying listening to the story about Josh. But we are able to say, and I've learned even in the drive-through in 30 seconds to share the gospel, the reason we believe we're going to see our son again and the reason for our confidence is because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And sometimes I get a chance to share a little bit more, but that is the reason for our hope. Because Christ is risen, we too shall rise. So, what I want to ask you is, what's your calling? Have you found it yet? It's not like there's only one, but have you found your calling? Are you living it out, whether it seems like it's working or not? Or are you sitting back and saying, well, I don't know, I might not get in the starting lineup. I can't do this, I can't do that. You don't know what you can do. Well, I'm confident that someone here has a calling to give some forgiveness. I can't tell you what it is. If you'll get along with God, he'll tell you. He'll bring it to your heart. Now, you'll resist it. That's human nature. Now, that's been so long ago, they've probably forgotten about it. Maybe they have. Bring it up. Don't do it because of what you think. Do it because of what God speaks to your heart through this old wannabe cowboy. Maybe God's put a calling on you to give something. Could be time, could be money, could be your talents. I don't know what it is, but I know that God can make stars shoot across the sky. So what I want to do right now is we had the opportunity to write a song about our son. And so I want to play the lyric video for that song as you think about the story, some of the lessons that I've shared with you, and what it is God's calling you to do. Somebody may need to answer God's very first calling, which is to accept the forgiveness of his son and become his child, to be born again. That's the first calling. So please play the video. With the lyrics. So while we're working out the technical difficulty, let me explain to you the song. We were invited to go to Nashville and to be paired up with some professional songwriters. And you ready? Yes. Okay.
Big league chew and a wiffle ball, a plastic bat for that little southpaw. His diamond was his back lawn, he was swinging for the moon. A warrior's heart from day one, fearless like his father's son. A local hero he would become, but God knows way too soon. Baptized at 17, high school prom and a state champ ring. Onward to be a Marine with courage, strength, Joshua 1:9. Now that Bible verse jumps off the page. We find purpose in the pain. We know he lived up to his name for his country and the Lord. Though he's gone, he still lives. We find comfort knowing where he is. And one day we'll meet again and walk that golden shore. Baptized at 17, high school prom and a state champ ring. Then onward to be a Marine with courage, strength, and pride. He lived to love and loved to live, gave every breath he had to give. Now he lives on one dog tag at a time. Yeah, Joshua was 9. Joshua was 9. Yeah, he lived to love and loved to live, gave every breath he had to give. Now he lives on one dog tag at a time. Joshua 1:9. Yeah, Joshua 1:9. Joshua 1:9.
We've shared over 30,000 of these dog tags in 6 different languages. They've been all over the world. And we've gotten the most amazing letters from people on every continent. And we want you to be a part of that. So please, if you are called, which I'm calling you, come get a dog tag. And if you already have one, I want you to share it with somebody. Even if you don't have one, share it with somebody. Send me an email. Let me know you need another one. But we live in a world that is desperate for the gospel. There's coming a day when each one of us is going to have to be able to call on the name of Jesus. We don't know how many more chances we got. But I can tell you, these last few months have reminded me it's getting close. So thank you very much. Remember, for a Christian, a believer in Christ, every day is Memorial Day. And for us, with our son, every day is Memorial Day. So thank you very much. I'm going to do that next service.
All right. Let's have prayer and we'll be dismissed. If you'd like to come get a dog tag on the way out, just circle through, and that's what you want to do, right? Come on by. Amen. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for Brother Islam and his family coming today, and the ministry you've raised them up to do. And thank you, Lord, that we are part of this family, because Joshua planted back there on our land. Cemetery right here by us, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to be honored to have him right in our cemetery, and help us to never forget him giving his life for our country, but also all those that have given their lives for us, Lord. You say in the word, greater love hath no man. Greater love nobody has than if they give their life for their brother. And Lord, you gave your life for us, and our soldiers have given their lives for our freedom. We appreciate it so much. In Jesus' name, amen.